go half-ass, whole ass it.
I try to. I
Yeah.
mean, this is something that I've always liked doing. I've always liked seeing, talk to people, and like, why not see Bobby Hansen in here too? Big Bobby Hansen.
Good to see you.
But the reason, and one big reason I wanted to bring you in here, you're always happy. You're always
Hey,
excited. That electric feel from you all the time is amazing. So,
appreciate that. Yeah.
but what's new in the Bobby world?
Well, Reagan is about to finish her first year of school this tomorrow.
Kindergarten or
K4. Yeah,
K4?
pre-K.
Okay.
That year has gone by so fast. It's incredible, and so we're just prepping for the summer, busy travel schedules for Kathy and I, and running around with the kids. So yeah.
It's been a it's been an excitement having the kids and running around. And see, my oldest, he's about to go into kindergarten starting next year.
Yeah.
So we're kind of like,
He's a
oh
couple months older than.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's January 9th,
Yeah.
1/9. Yeah.
Yeah. So the most rewarding part I think about parenthood is watching them grow up and learn stuff, and like watching them learn things that you don't even think that you took the time to really tell them or show them. They just pick up on everything, right? They're sponges. That's really, it's fun watching that, like just kind of sitting back and watching kids, play with each other and learn how to share, try to learn how to share,
Yeah, constantly fighting.
constantly redirecting the energy. Yeah.
What's it like having the girls? Because I have the two older boys and then I have the little girl. My toughest thing is learning and thinking about how I learned or how I developed, I guess, as a human being, as an adult now, and looking back as a kid and what my parents did or didn't do, or how they, disciplined me, and then you see the reactions, like, my mom and dad, they disciplined me and Clint the same way. Doesn't matter. It was like, even though we had two we were yin and yang. We have two totally different personalities,
Yeah.
and that's
That's
given.
true.
And it's funny because we work together. We're office side by side. We've been, in a family business for years. So what's what's rewarding of it is, while Clint and I fist fight, we used to constantly. We used to just beat the living hell out of each other, but we love each other. And
Yeah.
now to this day, working next to each other and being there with each other, it's like, I will have my brother's back. You'll have my back. If somebody screws with one of us, they're going to get the other one, and it's not going to be at the same level as you got. It's
Yeah.
going to be 10 times worse.
Yeah, Richard and I are very similar in that way too. So, we're very close in age. We've always competed growing up, and we butt heads at times, like brothers do. But as we've gotten older, he and I had the same setup. We had an office he had an office right next to mine, and was working at 7 to 7 for a while he was finishing law school. And it was just fun to have your brother working with that. You have that deeper connection with your brother than any of the coworkers that you work with on a daily basis, right? So be able to have that person to bounce ideas off or just like vent to is awesome.
And that's a big thing, is venting.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of that. I'll come into my brother's office, and I'm bad. I'm where when something sets me off, and that's why I think about you a lot of times. Like, how does Bobby keep his cool so much? And like,
Well, the girls have helped me a lot because that's one thing that I've realized is that you have to take a different approach, and you have to be softer and than you might be with a boy, right? And especially in discipline and teaching them really the why of this is why you should not do that. You don't do this because, not because I said so. And that's something that I think my parents would tell me that at times. I remember my parents telling me that at times, and I'm like, man, I don't like that answer. But then I sometimes feel myself saying just because I said so, because I'm kind of like getting to the end. And it's like,
Yeah.
why? Because I said so. And now I understand. It comes full circle.
yeah.
It comes full circle.
So like you said, getting that discipline to stay calm, breathe, think. And I'm learning that with my kids, because I immediately just want to, like, "Rah, what is wrong with you? Just listen." And so same thing at work. Like, I'll have to go. What's nice, I can go to my brother's office, like you're saying, talking with Richard and being able to vent and bounce things off. I'll go to Clint. I'm like, Clint, I've got to get this out. I'm gonna yell. I'm gonna cuss. I'm gonna just flip it. Just so when I go
Yeah.
make my call later,
I've got that out of my
I've got it
system.
out, so I don't say something that I don't need to say or don't particularly want to say, because I may say it out of haste, and I'm
Yeah,
trying really hard to make sure that I can keep a cool head, because I have to, you know. I mean, these are customers of mine that are, I don't have just a customer that comes and buys things and leaves. They're constantly, you know, on to
right.
the next project, on to the next project. So it's the same customer over and over that I try to, you know, cultivate that um that relationship with that they need. And it's so hard sometimes, especially when, you know, for me, I have builders that have, you know, they're superintendents, and while I know just as well as I do hiring, you can't hire enough people that are just great.
Yeah.
You're gonna have people that just totally suck and just don't
They're
care.
just there to do the bare minimum, and that's fine. I guess, I mean, if that's how you want to go through, you're just there to get a paycheck. But you're right. It's difficult to hire, and difficult to hire really good people,
And,
really good people that are motivated. That's it. Just we don't see motivation.
and I've been talking to other companies and different people that own their own companies. And one thing that I've learned from them, or not learning, but we've been talking about, even so I have a trust division as well. And we have a huge staffing. So like, you know, we use staffing companies for it. And that creates a big hurdle, because, you know, they're just running people through. And the fact that you have to go to a staffing company to staff your own company presents a problem in itself, you know, on top of paying what you should pay, and then you got to pay them the extra amount on top of that,
Right.
and then they have to work, you know, 180 days or 300 days or something before you can actually hire them on full time and take, you know, without penalty. That's a So, you know, in some cases, like in my trust division, so, you know, I have lumber and building materials. So on on the side that we're selling just the sticks, the raw sticks, where we're loading trucks up, you see the bundles of lumber going down the
The
road,
MG, the
right?
MG trucks all over the place.
Right. We will that's maybe 20 people to staff that, you know, on the outside to get things, and the inside's maybe another 15 people. But when I have a manufacturing plant like the truss plant, I have 85 to 100 people on one shift. And if I got to run dual shifts, that's, you know, in one location, 160 something people, which may not sound like a lot when you're thinking of like Amazon or Sam's or some big, you know, warehouse company or other it's really tough. So we're trying to figure out how to cultivate people through internship programs, or, and especially in the hiring pools in the areas of town that, you know, we've been in there for we've been a company for 51 years, and we've been located in the south side of San Antonio, which is a great area. There's great culture, great people there, but the hiring pool just keeps dwindling down and down and down. And it's not just there; it's just an inner city thing, and nobody has respect for your own products, your own equipment, their own selves. I mean, for God's sakes, I can't even hire somebody without them walking out the gate, lighting up a joint before they even off the premises. I'm like, seriously, please
Yeah.
just work with me. Just, I don't care when you get out of here what you do. Just
Don't do
come
it
here
on
and be.
company
Yeah.
property.
So I
Yeah.
face that a lot. But what about you? Uh, one thing that I was really thinking about, and you know, I was like, you know what, Bobby's faced a lot of adversity in his life. Especially, you did what a dream that I've always had, and I know I've had friends tell me that I probably could have gotten there if I would have just tried hard, but I never really tried too hard. But at baseball, if you can see around here, I have my Astros
I
World
see
Series
that.
stuff. I got my Ricky Vaughn behind you
I
jersey.
Wild thing. I
So
see
yeah,
that.
you know, that's my little thing.
Yeah,
But
this is a guy's man cave come true, man.
but you know, you started off, and you went straight into playing ball, you know, from high school,
Yeah.
and your situation is a little different. Most people, what, they get a sandwich and a bus ticket and go.
Yeah.
So tell me what that was like moving into there, because that was something that I really wanted to chase. But
Yeah.
it I also had MG, so that was my
Right.
fallback. So I knew how to
Right.
fall back, a safety net, instead of busting my ass to actually chase what I wanted to do. And since I didn't get to do that, well, I could have done that, I guess, if I tried hard enough. But that's the thing, is I had a fallback, and I wish,
Yeah.
hindsight's always, you know. So going back, I'm like, man, if I could have done that. But talk about it, like, just
Yeah. So, I mean, I've always played baseball. I've always been an athlete, although not always the most athletic. So, I basketball has never been my thing. People always ask me if I played basketball because I happen to be tall
how tall
and
are you?
6'5".
Okay.
So basketball,
You're
never
still
my
kind of
sport.
short for basketball.
Can't jump. I just, I like playing pickup, but I was never good enough. Played football and until high school, the football coach at our high school wouldn't let me play fall baseball, which was on Sundays, like non-school affiliated, and that's that doesn't work for
Your
me. So
passion was more ball.
yeah, I wanted to play baseball, and so um, in high school, I played a lot of first base. I pitched a little bit. It wasn't really until the summer between my sophomore and junior year that I actually started pitching. And had a lot of opportunities and awards in high school, and was fortunate to be drafted by the Nationals in 2008. And I had this idea that I cultivated with my parents is like, if I get what I'm looking for in terms of a signing bonus and I can get my college paid for, it makes sense. Chase the dream, because you never know if you're going to get hurt. You might get hurt your first summer in pro ball, or you might get hurt in the fall in college. And so there's an opportunity. My parents have said, you've always told us you want to play professional baseball, not college baseball. Here's the opportunity. If it makes sense and you can have your college paid for, go for it. And so you're a big Astros fan. So the new general manager of the Astros, Dana Brown, was the scouting director for the Nationals and was the one who drafted me. And he came to our house and had dinner after the draft. Had dinner. My parents made a wonderful dinner, and we just sat at the dining room table and talked about what professional baseball was like. Negotiated our contract and my school to be paid for. And 2 days later, I was in Florida
How did
for
that
physicals.
How did that go when he said, like, when he was explaining what professional baseball was like? What were some of those conversations? I know you probably can't talk about all of them,
Just
but
yeah,
or
I mean,
remember
it's
all of
just
them, but
a lot of it is just you're gonna be gone from your family. So I was 18. Um, Never really traveled. I traveled with my family on vacation, but I'd never been really places by myself. But like any 18-year-old that's about to go into college, this is a very similar experience, right? Going away to college for the first time. I just happened to have a job and, not any daily restrictions in terms of college, which proved very interesting because I was the youngest in rookie ball. My roommate and I were actually the youngest. He was 17 and he turned 18 in September. Um, shout out, shout out Flip, Derek Phillips. And he and I were the youngest guys, but most of our teammates were people in college. So 21, 22, 23. So that was, an interesting dynamic as well, which allowed me to
when
learn kind of from people who have been playing baseball. This is how to do it the right way. Like, go about your business. You can work hard, but you can also have fun. We found all the fishing spots in Melbourne, Florida. I mean, we fished and golfed every day when we could because we had a hookup at a golf course, and there were some great fishing.
I remember doing these golf tournaments, the little scrambles that we
Yeah.
do. I used to keep a little short fishing pole in my
Mm-hmm.
bag because you get stuck at a hole waiting for like two people ahead of
Yeah.
you, and there was a pond right there. Some fish and start catching bass out of
Yeah.
those ponds. That was awesome.
We
That
started
stuff.
about golf. We started playing like these scrambles recently for work related events, and I kind of get upset at the par max rule. It's like, look,
Yeah.
if but at the same time, it keeps the pace of play up because there are some people out there that
Dude, if
they're
not,
just out there.
it's an
They're
eight.
just
It's
out
an
there.
8 hour game, and you're like, man,
Yeah,
this should be like a 3 to 4 hour
yeah.
game, and I'm spending 8 hours on this thing.
Pick up after
So,
3.
what was
Take the par.
when you were when you were playing ball and you finally made it pro ball? Y'all had an eclectic amount of people. I mean, from like Guatemala, Honduras,
Dominican.
Dominicans.
Yeah.
What were like the personalities like, and what was the most challenging? I know there were some that, not all, but it's like that guy's gonna steal my shit if I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so most of the team were, especially in rookie ball, which is where I started in 2008. Um, Most guys are coming from the Dominican Summer League that the teams have affiliations down in the Dominican, and so they're getting raw kids that have raw athletic ability, but all they've done is played baseball. They never went to school. Like, they just played baseball. And fortunately, I took Spanish in high school and was relatively fluent or at least conversational enough to have a dialogue with 60% of my teammates, because that if you can't speak Spanish or at least understand it, you're going to have a hard time just, talking with 40% of your team.
But that's you have to have I mean, how do you work with the team if you can't
Yeah.
actually speak with them, growing up to, like, even watching the major leagues, what was I think it was, like, Major League 3 where the shortstop and the second baseman kept stealing each other's balls, so they put stakes in the ground and bungee cords where they couldn't go in front of each
Right.
other, and
Yeah.
but, I mean, it's like to me, that brought up, like, a language barrier, though it wasn't a language barrier because they were brothers and that are twins in that movie, but you're trying to like, I got to work with these people. We have to understand each other. So we actually out off the field, outside of the park, we've also got to get along. We're gonna be riding a bus together. We're gonna be
Right.
traveling. We're gonna be eating next to each other. We're sleeping
Yeah.
next to each other. Like
Yeah.
that.
Culturally too, it's just very different. They just a lot of my Latin teammates happen to speak very loudly. It sounds like everyone's yelling at each other, but it's just normal. And so at 6 o'clock, in the morning when you're coming in for spring training, that's quite a wake up. you know.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was great. My rookie ball pitching coach, Franklin Bravo. He's from the Dominican. He was amazing. He took us a lot of players down to like great Dominican food places in Florida. So I got exposed to a lot of the culture, which was really great. And I really look forward to going to the Dominican sometime soon. I've never been.
Never just
No, have you?
nope.
Yeah.
My buddy Tyler made them. I don't know if
Yeah.
you met.
Yeah.
I think they did their honeymoon in the Dominican. There's a lot of uh, honeymoon places and
Yeah.
vacation places. So finishing up, playing ball, and finally, didn't you hurt your arm or something, or your
Yeah.
elbow, or what was it that you?
Yeah, so I had back surgery in
That's what it was. Yeah, you're back.
2011. I had a herniated disc. It actually happened over the off season before my first spring training, 2009, like 2 weeks before spring training. And I was doing sprints and just felt something pull in my back, and I couldn't walk for a couple days. Painful. Finally, I got over it and I was fine. And over the course of the next year and a half, I started to have some nerve pain, which I thought was okay. Maybe I'm just not as
Just throwing
tight.
too much gas.
I'm tight. Maybe I'm just tight in my hamstring. That's what it is. But it just progressed. And in June of 2011, I pitched, had a great game, one of my best starts of the season. Talked to my dad on the way home as I normally did after I'd play a game, driving home from the field. And when I got home, the pain just increased. And for like 16 days, I was in the most excruciating pain of my life. I had back surgery. I was 21. I walked out of the hospital the next day. Felt like I could actually walk. And I came back, um, played one more season. Got promoted out of spring training after only playing half a season. Um, but it was the consistency. I was, 21, just on the season of my career, just kind of confidence, right? And coming back from an injury, I lost that edge, and it was very difficult to get back. And I was released in 2013, and that's when I met you actually, because it was through Boone at Gerlach,
Yeah.
and
Boone
the
had a hell
rodeo
of a ride.
cook-off. Yes, he did. Yes, it was fun. I was actually fortunate to get to see him play it at Yankee Stadium, which was awesome because I've
I didn't
never
get
been
to
to
see him
Yankee
play,
Stadium. Yeah.
but I was there. I had got the seats, 1 and 2 on the wall right next to the bullpen. The last year, Mariano Rivera was there too, and the night before, him and I went out to have some drinks and hang out before. I think they had a doubleheader the next game, but just being in Yankee
He
Stadium.
didn't pitch that. He didn't pitch
No,
that night.
he didn't pitch, but the coolest thing in being from Texas, Jesus hates the Yankees here in Texas, right? So I I have found a newfound respect for just northeastern ball, whether it be the Mets, the Yankees, whoever. The coolest thing was I'm sitting there in the outfield right there along the wall, and you know the the bullpens to my right, and to the left is the right field bleachers and everything. Um, and there was like 3 rows that had this chant, and they would go through, and I couldn't understand it. I don't remember to this day, but they would chant something, and then they would say every player on the field's name. And as they said their name, the person on the field would just shake his glove all the way down to the catcher. I mean, they'd say whoever's in right field, and you'd see him go like that,
They're
his glove,
serious
center
about
field.
their baseball in the Northeast. They
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yankee Stadium was amazing. I've never been to Fenway. I grew up a Red Sox fan.
Fenway's fun.
I've actually never been to a game at Fenway or inside the stadium. They have if you've never been there, the little bar in center field, under the bleachers, and I watched the game on the glass, which was really cool. Different perspective, like you're watching essentially on the warning track from center field.
So I think it was, I don't quote me on this for sure, I think it was August 2009. I went to work. I was working in Boston for work. We used to go to these trade shows, and the guy that hosts my website, Jerry, he bought us tickets to a Yankees Red Sox game at Fenway.
Nice.
And for a lot of people, they all know that that's like the biggest rivalry in baseball and it's August. So at that time, I think the Yankees had to win though to make it to the playoffs. It was in a big run right there, and they had to beat the Red Sox, right? So most baseball games, they cut off beer sales in the 7th inning. For those games, it's 5th inning. So the 5th inning, you see everybody running up, and it's 2 beer max, buying 2 beers, running them down to their chairs, back up to run. So by the time it's 9th inning, you're just drinking hot
stale beer.
Yeah. You're just, and I mean, everybody's yelling at each other.
Yeah.
It's a blast. I mean, it's a 3-hour train ride from New York to Boston.
Yeah.
From going to the Penn Station, because I did that when I had to work in Boston, and that's when I went to see Boone.
Took the train up there
a few years before, and I just walked into Penn Station, got on the train, and came up, I guess, into Boston. You're not down for people that know geography, right?
Yeah.
But it was so cool because the whole time we're driving or riding, and if you've never ridden in a train, have you ridden in a train?
Not like that.
So it's not like an airplane. You have all the leg room that you want.
Yeah.
It's comfortable, and you're riding along the coast. So Connecticut, Rhode Island, you're on the coastline, and you're getting to see everything. It's so beautiful. Like I said, it's a 3-hour ride. It's not bad. It wasn't that. I think it's like $150 for it. But
easier
it was,
than a flight.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
So after you finished, you started getting out of pro ball and realized.
So yeah, I retired, and I had just gotten out of a relationship at that time, and I was kind of at a point where I'm like, okay, well, what am I gonna do now? Like I said, 5 years before, I had negotiated for the Nationals to pay for my college, so I was like, okay, I've got my college paid for, and my brother at the time was at University of Colorado, Go Buffs, up in Boulder, and so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to Boulder, and so my plan was to go to Boulder, enroll in fall of 2013, and my brother came back from school. He had just turned 21. We went, this was in May. We went up to Austin. I had some teammates of mine, Connor and a couple other buddies up there that played at UT. And so we would go, out on 6th Street. So I took Richard out and doing lessons. I was doing lessons full time, pitching lessons over at Extreme Speed. And Richard one night asked me to, go out. And so we had gone, and I think you and I had gone to Kona Grill a few times and done reverse happy hour. So I took him out there, and that's actually the night that I met Kathy, my wife. And so from there, things kind of changed and flipped on its head.
I remember when you met Kathy.
Yeah, because we went out the next night. You guys, we went out with you the next night, and so here I am. We've got the summer together, spent every day together, and we go to Colorado, and I'm there for a semester before I transfer back to UTSA, and at that time, Richard and I started rowing actually, and
I remember that.
Yeah, so
I remember I was dating somebody else at the time. I stayed in y'all's apartment in Boulder.
That's right.
When I had a wedding to go to in Denver,
yes,
and
because we were here.
So snowy and miserable. Well, when miserable is beautiful, but Boulder is one of the prettiest places.
It really is.
I could, think about in Colorado. All of Colorado is beautiful. God.
We'll see how the Buffs do this year football wise, but you talk about a more gorgeous backdrop. I can't name one for a football stadium than Folsom Field. You've got the Flatirons behind. You've got beautiful. The Boulder campus is beautiful. You know, you were there when it was snowy, but
Yeah.
go in the summertime when it's green and
First time
you
I've
know
ever been on a plane that had to be de-iced, and it was the stinkiest, weirdest thing I've ever been. You know, they spray all that stuff on. Have you been on a de-iced plane before?
we've de-iced the wings and stuff,
Yeah.
but I've never really noticed it other
Spooging
than
all over the
just
plane.
yeah. I've never noticed it other than just like, okay, well, we're delayed a little bit. But yeah, so I came back and I went to UTSA and I said I need a job. I want to start working and doing something that is not just retail or whatever. Not that that's a bad thing, but I'm a 23-year-old freshman. I'm in a different position freshman wise than most people are. And so
Been
you
with
have
40-year-old freshmen too.
sure, yeah. And so they go, I had I've met Justin and Mike Burns, who's my personal trainer, who's Boone's trainer. When we were playing, we'd work out together in the off season. I happened to meet Justin Koch, who is the owner of 7 to 7 Dental here in San Antonio. And I'd known him for a couple years. We worked out together, and I said, hey, I'm looking for a job. I'm looking for something to do. I want to learn how a business really operates. And so I just started out as like hourly employee, just kind of helping do whatever I can. And I kind of got merged into dentistry, and it's been a wild ride ever since. It's been almost 10 years.
Nice. So when you decided to get into industry, I mean, you're in college and you're taking classes. What was your first aim? You're like, okay, now I'm out of baseball. I've got to, like you said, you met Justin, you're trying to figure things out, but you're, didn't you go in for like political
Yeah.
first and then you just kind of changed your,
Yeah. So I always thought that I would maybe go to law school, and I obviously am still young. So I still might do that. But I always consider myself that I would be an attorney at one point. And of course, my brother is now an attorney, um, representing the great state of Colorado. And so that was what my degree was political science at Boulder. And I had a semester's worth, and transferring. I took some core classes, and I wanted to make sure I transferred. So I just kept that same degree.
sorry, my remote here. See,
Oh, you're good.
that's what that is.
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
So
Oh,
like,
so,
boom. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
uh, no, so that was my degree. And so I didn't want to backtrack myself. And so I just stuck with poli sci. So I've always found law and political philosophy very interesting. I like thinking about things. There are some people that are very black and white, and I am black and white on certain things, but I find a lot of gray. There's a
Yeah.
lot of deep thinking on certain things, and so I've always really enjoyed that. But the one thing I realized now out of school, and I still have a semester and a half left before I graduate. But
But
the one thing I realized is that there wasn't anything that I learned in college that helps me in my business today. But there were a lot of things that I learned as an 18-year-old playing baseball that helped me in my business today. And I think that's kind of what the college experience is about dedication. It's about, can you be studious? Can you prove that you can do something for 4 years? And it gives you training. But I got that on the road as an 18-year-old, being looked at, playing with 24, 25-year-olds, being looked at the same age, being held responsible to the same maturity levels. That gave me a growing up lesson very quickly, right? You go on road trips for 10 days, and you got to make sure that your clubhouse dues are paid, that you have all your stuff, that your cleats are right, you've got your gloves, right? You have everything, because you're going to go and play in 3 cities over 10 days, and you've got bus rides in between, and you got to make sure you have everything set up, and that when the bus leaves, if you're not on it, they will leave without you. And I've had teammates that happened to. And so, they
hey, what was
they missed the bus, and they have to drive.
Oh no.
Fortunately, it was only Fortunately, that one was only like 3 or 4 hour road trip. But yeah, they had to drive and they met us at the next stadium. It's like, we're not waiting for anybody. This is the time to go. And so that teaches you timeliness, being on
Yeah.
time. That's one of my big pet peeves,
You know,
personal pet peeve.
I've been lucky enough to know your family, which is an amazing family, the most welcoming, loving family. Your mom, your dad. I I personally love how close your mom and dad are. Whether, especially when they go play golf,
Golf.
they
Yeah.
they match themselves
Yeah.
every time, whether it be pink, blue, green, yellow, they're wearing the same shit every single time, and I love it about them. And I think especially they were in two different lifestyles too. Your dad growing up, in West Hollywood
Yeah.
area, right? And that where he
He
was,
worked in
or
West
what did I
Hollywood.
say?
Yeah.
But I say growing up there, but I mean that's where he formed his mindset, his life feeling as an officer,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to, talk about his stuff or
Yeah.
anything, but it just, and then your mom, being like banking area and stuff, like they're just so diverse in their cultures and their thoughts. And then they bring you and your brother along, and I see
Yeah.
you and your brother who y'all had such good role models too. I mean, like
Yeah.
I said, even your brother, when I see Richard and I just see this guy that just like you, there's always this smile, and like
Yeah.
I just picture like I don't know, like the Mickey Mouse and the old school beginning of Walt Disney as Mickey Mouse,
Yeah.
just doing his
Yeah.
little spinning his wheel, just happy, and that's just y'all. I mean, and I love it, and
Yeah.
it breeds a new culture of people around you too when you
Yeah.
see that happiness, and it's a hard thing to stay happy in these days, especially with all this technology. And you get on I don't have TikTok, but like the YouTube Shorts, all of that, which is just like it, or even Instagram or Facebook.
It's a time suck. It's fun, but it's a time suck, And so one thing is like being an athlete, and my brother was always very competitive. He could have played college basketball if he wanted to, and he burned out. It was fun watching him play, but you have to deal with adversity all the time.
Yeah,
And so if you can't deal with adversity and be happy, you're gonna have a hell of a ride in life. Right? I had teammates, locker mates, roommates that get released or get sent down, and you're on, you got to drive home from the field together because you share a car.
and
Like that's a silent ride home, you know?
yeah, you don't know how to comfort them.
You, yeah. And so you see that happen and you're like, okay, well, you have to be grateful for the opportunity you have and have a positive attitude.
So after leaving pro ball and joining the workforce, like all of us morons around here, how did you transfer into? Because now you do more software side, right? You
Yeah.
do the treatment 24/7 is your baby, right?
Yeah.
And that's the software for all the dental stuff that's going on in town
Yeah.
and well across the nation.
Yeah.
So are y'all outside of the United States yet? Are y'all doing anything like
We
in
have a couple
Canada?
Canadian practice on. Yeah. So when I transferred into the workforce at 7 to 7, I found myself in the dental practice. And one of the most interesting positions I thought was this idea of a treatment coordinator, which is essentially a salesperson, person that is presenting dentistry to the patient, walking through financial options, getting the patient to pay, and getting them scheduled. It's a very difficult job to do, to be successful at. And Justin created a software to help simplify that experience, not only for the patient being presented treatment, but also for the treatment coordinator presenting it, simplifying the terms that the patient can understand, giving them payment options, making it very easy, and having a system like a sales CRM, right? We're in sales. You have to have some sort of CRM to manage your leads. And dentistry doesn't have that. It's never had that. So that's what treatment 24/7 was. And so I started using user of the software and started kind of asked Justin, like, can I dabble in this? I think there's some potential in here. And I started working on it. And then he asked me to come run the company full time in 2017. And my first order of business was getting it actually integrated into the practice management system where they house the charts and the appointments and ledgers and all of that. And there weren't really any good solutions out there. And there was one and it didn't work. It wasn't what we needed. And so we said, screw it. We're going to go back to the drawing board and we're going to build it ourselves. And so we built this integration, and covers 75% of the dental market to power treatment 24/7. But what we realized about 2 years later after building that is that that itself is a licensable product. And so we spun it out into its own company, Velox, in 2020. And now that supports 15 customers and almost 1,000 practices across the country. So that is scaled way beyond my beliefs. I knew that it would get to that point, but I didn't realize it'd be this fast. But it's grown so much more than even treatment 24/7 has.
So, the challenge, especially with dental, um, health plans, right? You go to your job and you're working and you get to everything and you're like, I got my health insurance. And then you get to like, your eyes and then your dental. And most people just kick off the dental. So that was something I guess that y'all really had to play in mind as far as, okay, like you said, your payment options, your plans, because most people don't have any type of dental insurance.
Even
And
if they do, it's not doesn't operate the same like medical insurance does. And people don't understand that. It's really a discount card. It's like, hey, it's 50% of this fee, and maybe we'll pay it, and we'll more than likely won't. And I've seen this working with 7 to 7 and with customers across the country, the games the insurance companies play. And so what's been really good and works really well is dental practices having an in-office membership plan. So you don't have insurance, it's 25, 40, $50. There's plans. And you now have a membership for that practice where you get discounts. It operates theoretically very similar to insurance. It's not insurance, it's only applicable to that practice. But 7 to 7, they've got almost 3,000 patients on their in-house membership plan. And it's a really great, it's a really great offer, especially for people that are self-employed, right? Or they run a small business. It's not that they can't afford dental insurance, they just don't want it. They don't have it through their company, right? And so those are great patients to have.
and I've noticed too, like again, with health insurance, a lot of times you get that where it's elective or non-elective, and that's what, covers within your insurance. Um, Dental is more of an elective thing, so that's probably why
That's what society views it as. I
uh,
wouldn't I wouldn't, but yes, most
no,
people see it as secondary. Mm, I'll only go if it hurts,
but
right?
see, after a while, it can cause permanent issues within your life. People don't realize the mouth is a segue to, I mean, straight to your brain. Obviously, everything's,
Or what
and
happens if
there's,
you can't eat?
yep. So
I mean, right? I mean, it's kind of as simple as that.
yeah, that's what's always baffled me is, like there's these poor dentists, they have a harder job than just a doctor, coming straight out of school and, you know, taking the residency and learning and all that. Just dentists, they get done with schooling. And yes, there are different, there's actually down here in this building that we're in, there's a little dental school
I
down
saw
there.
that.
Um, I see you already like flying and your mind's going like, okay, I'm gonna go see
I
what I
think I'm
can
gonna
do.
pop in there
Pop
after
in
there,
there,
actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's part of it, and
Yeah.
that's part of your sales pitch and everything. But that's really cool, man. Though
Yeah.
that you've been able to move on from, starting, especially in school, especially high school, and having especially the wherewithal with your parents to help you say, hey, this is a chance for you to play pro ball, but let's make sure that it's for not like, again, like you said, you get hurt
Right.
tomorrow, and then
Or 5 years down the road,
yeah,
like I did, right? And it's like I want to make sure that that is still taken care of.
yeah,
Like chase that makes the chasing the dream a little easier.
it
Yeah.
does. And a lot of people don't realize that, and it's part of like what we're doing this for. And I like doing this is because people don't understand everything, and you can only see what's in front of you sometimes. Like, there's so many factors out there that you can't see. And that's why whenever I'm in a meeting with somebody, talking with somebody, I'm never the smartest man in the room. I know that for sure. I'm a dipshit compared to all the other people, but that's because I may only see two or three angles, and then all of a sudden you come with me with three other angles. I'm like, oh crap, I did not see that. You know, in so many games. I mean, especially in the industry where, uh, making money just in general. How many different ways you can make money, and you're like, how can I monetize this or anything?
It's
That's
something that's been racking my brain for the last 6 months. It's something I've put a lot of thought into is other ways to monetize things that we're currently doing, looking at different ways we can package what we're doing differently,
Licensing
things
your
like
product, like you just said, in
licensing.
2020, y'all went into a licensed product, and that becomes, and then do y'all have, what do you call it? Your support soft, you have a support team. So if somebody has an issue there and call
S-
for support, you have a maintenance
So
contract.
what's great about the Velox side of the business is it's purely B2B and it's software. I mean, it's data as a service. We provide integration and analytics and data solutions, but realistically, I don't have to have a big team. I have a small group of engineers who handle the customer service because the customer is not the dental practice. Customer is other engineers. So we have dozen Slack channels open that we work with our customers which is great. And then you don't need a big sales force. I am the sales force because it's all relationship based. It's all networking. And so I go find a software company. So like one of our customers, our first customer is a company called Pearl. You'll hear about them very soon enough. They're an AI company, and they're the first FDA approved company to use their product is called Second Opinion. And what it will do is it will run AI against X-rays and show if there are cavities, any bone loss, and it's a second opinion for the patient to be reassured that the doctor is making the right diagnosis. And it's taken off like wildfire. Um, and so I've got, customers like that, which is really fun to work with and see what they're doing and
So
realistically changing dentistry as a whole.
my fear too with AI, and it's because I don't understand it, just by like majority of us don't completely understand AI. Without a human effect, sometimes there's things that AI just can't pick up on or understand. Uh, and it could be I'm just so used to ancient AI. AI has changed so much. But you could imagine though somebody getting in to this and their questions are, well, like, are you sure AI can catch it that much? Like, I'd rather somebody actually be looking at it and see something. How do I know the AI is seeing it? And and that could be because maybe AI is breaking it down to the very small pixel
Yeah.
of the image, whatever, and they can catch those things. But what if you have a grainy image? Does it, learn how to, enhance, or does it say this is not going to come out right because
Yeah.
we have faulty imagery to begin with, and that's where I guess now I'm answering another question. Well, AI could help that, where somebody's looking naked. I go, no, we're good. I know that's there. We're
Right.
fine, and it's really not just a function of a shitty image or something. Well, I'm curious on how that would be.
Yeah. What's interesting, at least about their product, is that you get end user feedback because the doctor can say yes or no. And so that is, a concern, that I think doctors sometimes have is like, oh, especially older doctors who have not been so adaptive to technology. A lot of the younger dentists coming out, they're just technology is all they've known. There are some practices that's still on paper charts. And so they're going to say, I don't want this robot coming in here doing my job for me. It's like, well, it's not going to perform the crown. It's not going to do the root canal. It's there to give you confidence that if something is you look is like, it could be that or it might not be. If it says it is, then it might give you that confidence. But at the same time, you have the ability to tell it no. And every time you use it and interact with it like that, it learns. So you can dismiss it as part of as a problem, or you can be an active part of the solution. I mean, there's
Yeah,
kind of your two
why
choices.
use a software that you also like? Hey, I buy into the software and I'm using it, and the reason I buy the software is because I trust it and I want to use it. But if you can't actively help grow that software too with your partners, that's another thing. A lot of people don't get that either. Usually, like if for instance, I buy my iPhone, it's not working right. I want to go throw it at Apple and say, you suck shit. I don't want this thing. Do better. At the same time, like, well, tell them why. I mean, there's so many. Luckily, there's a billion users on these things. But
Yeah.
like what you're saying, where you're trying to be new, not necessarily new in this market, but you're one of the few in this market. Like, hey, you want something that's going to be awesome? We have the team to help make it awesome, and we're constantly working on every day to make it. But you got some feedback? Let me know, because
Yeah.
man, again, you're seeing so many angles, and this doctor gets hit with another angle because they get somebody that they got three teeth grown in one spot. Like,
Feedback is a gift.
yes,
And as
combing through it the right way though, because you can get a lot of crappy feedback. I mean,
Sure.
just like
But
the
at least
comment
people
section,
are, but at least people are, well, the comment section I wouldn't worry about, but like emails, working with business, at least they took the time to tell you, because if they told you, more than likely other people are thinking the same thing and just haven't told you. And so that is sometimes very difficult. It's got to swallow your pride a little bit. If someone gives you very good critical feedback, like, okay, we'll make that right. And part of that, like we had the conversation earlier about you venting to Clint about, customers. It is it is a customer service. Like, you're a customer service business that happens to do building materials. That's ultimately what it is, right? That's the motto at 7 to 7, is that we're a customer service business that happens to do really good dentistry internally. Everything is about customer service. It doesn't matter what industry you're.
and I think industries have changed, or just business in general, where you know 15, 20 years ago, probably 20 years ago, I think about my parents and my dad and them, how they were, especially in my industry. It was just shut up and work. Like, and now it's, hey, we're trying to build a culture around our company, because again, when everybody feels comfortable and happy to come work in an environment that's conducive to my personality, and is will pick me up when I'm having a rough day, or bring me back down to earth when my head's too damn big, that means something to me going there too, especially
Yeah.
when I'm talking to my employees and I'm saying, hey, what's going on today? Because you're having a hard time, and instead of just lashing out, I know and that's the thing, is we're all people, and that is a tough thing to get through people's head, especially an owner of a business where they're just trying to take care of the end goal rather than understanding inside that mechanism that turns that product, that output. That's got to
Right.
be strong. And I'm finding that out more and more, and figuring out how to work with different personalities, how to unlock people to use more of their brain, and understand that, trust yourself and trust in what you're doing, because you need it. And if you're trusting what I'm doing, then you can trust in yourself
Have
to
you
do
read
your
the
job.
Four Tendencies?
No, I have not. And I'm a
Yeah.
big, tell me about the four
The
tendencies.
Four Tendencies essentially breaks down people in four different tendencies. Majority of people are obligers. I'm an obliger. So I rely on external pressure to get stuff done. I'm more likely to put stuff off. I'm a big procrastinator at times. I work well under pressure because I've got an external deadline, or I've got somebody, but I'm also willing to forego what I need to do to help somebody else. And so that's kind of, there's four tendencies. And if you can understand what kind of person, or the person you're dealing with, what tendency they're in, then you can communicate, you can break through with them. Kathy, just question her. Right. Yeah. And that's okay. I have to understand that when she's questioning, it's not because she's questioning me. She wants to either understand, or that's just how she thinks. So, right, you got to just understand that kind of
It's
personality that the person you're dealing with has, and work through that. Even though I might be quick to get defensive, like, why are you questioning me? Right. And I catch myself doing that, but it's like, that's just how she wants to learn more. Right.
and I think what you said, that on the questioning, you see, you get defensive, and that's also where we have to grow as a
Mhm.
person too, to understand, well, maybe I'm not right, or maybe again, I'm missing something. Okay, let me answer your question. And if I'm confident in what I'm doing, then I should have no problem,
Yeah.
right? Just to answer like, hey, this is what I think, this is what I do. And then, that leads into conversation to figure out how to get to our end goal, how to solve this problem, how to, whether it be with work, whether it be with relationship, you
Yeah.
know, and that four tendencies is what it's called.
Yeah. Four
Do you know
tendencies.
who wrote that book?
I don't. I'll send you the
Okay.
link.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wanna I
I'll
wanna
send you the
read
link.
it, because I do read a lot, and I really try to read stuff that make me stronger as a person. Like, a couple podcasts ago, I was talking about um, "Man's Search for Meaning," because by Viktor Frankl, because it just shocked me so bad. It part one's about a guy in Auschwitz, from his first day landing in Auschwitz to the day he was out of Auschwitz, and learning how to live in society. But all through there, all this fluff and noise that we have going on every day is meaningless. It really
Yeah.
is. And that put a new perspective in my vision and my side on what I do. You get too caught up in emotions of things, and it's like, man, there's so much in this world, so much in this life that you can be thankful for rather than, am I getting, I'm going to, McDonald's today and I'm going to get me a nice hamburger. Like, just be thankful that you're able to even do that, to even get in your car, be able to drive through a drive-through, to have somebody else make your food. They
Yeah.
got it from the chain of everything. You don't even think about how all that got there. And the simplicity of life is not there in a lot of people's minds. And I don't know, that's why I really enjoy reading, because it opens up myself to step back instead of being judgmental. I catch myself being judgmental by looking at people and seeing their mannerisms, see the way they do things, but then I don't realize, crap, I bet you they're saying the same about me. They're looking at me going, what the hell is wrong with this dude?
Yeah.
Is it, like, what is he doing? And,
Yeah.
and you're doing the same thing. Like, what the hell is this guy doing?
There's
But
a book. It's a humorous view. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck
yeah,
by Mark Manson,
yeah,
right? The idea is that you only have enough, you only have a certain percentage of care that you can dedicate to daily life. So you really gotta break it down and determine, like, is this hill worth giving up, you know, my care, 10% of my effort for my fucks that I have? Like, is that worth it? If
yeah.
not, then just let it go.
And and a lot of people have that. They just want to hold on to something because it's driving emotions, and emotions are, they're deadly now, and not to say that you can't have good emotions. You're going to have bad, you're going to have good emotions, you're going to have indifferent emotions, but when they take over your brain, so I forgot what it was. You can't see your reflection in rough waters. Wait for the water to settle so you can see your reflection. So the same thing as, I find myself again going back to the beginning, where I go to my brother's office and I start cussing and yelling and venting, and I tell him, I just got to get this out so I don't do it. It's like, because I know the waters are so rough for me right now, and my brain is sloshing, and I'm not, everybody's different. Some people have that capability to not, let themselves get worked. I don't sometimes. I get to the point where I'm just like, the hell with all you. You can all rot in hell. I'm pissed off, and then I finally like get myself to come down. I'm like, okay, why was I getting so worked up about that? Let's think clear about this. And that's also changed my thought or my mind in the way I present myself in meetings and businesses now, especially when I go into a hostile environment. I know I'm in this hostile environment. Working with family, I've got 6 other cousins that I have to work with, and we're all different personalities, and we've fought over the years too on things. But I know going in, if something's going to be directed at me in an anger or a derogatory or just a, defamatory way, however you want to put it, instead of taking a shot to the heart with it, I try to deflect, but in a positive way. Like, okay, how do I change this? And if it doesn't work because that person's just, then it's not me. Like, I know,
You did what you could.
yeah, and I'm going to work at it. I'm going to try like hell to change that direction and that trajectory of this conversation, to make sure that it takes from going to hostile. And even if it doesn't solve everything right there, it calms the situation down so that we can take another shot at it later if we want to or if we have to.
I
But I
just had this
know that,
conversation with my 18-year-old cousin last weekend in California. She had a falling out with a friend, and I was asking her about it. She's like, well, it's really her friend that it's her problem. And I was like, you have to reach out. You still have to be that friend, even if she's not, because if it never works out, then you at least know you did what you could and you were that good person. And that's really what it's about. It's about still being a good person, even when people are not so great to you, because eventually that might show people what it takes to be a good person. Her being generous and still being a friend to her friend might turn the corner, help her turn the corner.
yeah, exactly. And we face that every day. I mean, just walking along, I mean, hell, you see on the news, you can't even turn on the news anymore because it's always some heightened sense of
Yeah, I don't
crap
watch the
that,
news anymore.
oh, it just drives me nuts. And I'm like, I'm tired of all this negative crap. Like, dude, there's so much more to life than just fighting over petty stuff. And that's what it all boils down to, is like, somebody's anxiety got raised. It becomes a petty fight. and then you ruin something that could have been great. Like how many past friendships that you've lost, and you think back, you know, I thought back to like, man, I was the problem there. I took it too personal, and I just basically told that person, you know, that I can tell you right now, almost all my ex girlfriends would hit me with a car if they saw me, because I was a horrible breakup person. You know, I knew it wasn't going to work, so I just became a crappy person about it. You know, and there's a few you know of that would literally, if I was probably driving, they'd just swerve left, you know, and then take me out, you know. But again, and that's me learning now more and more. I mean, even going through days with my wife, you know, we have hard time. I mean, we got 3 kids, 5 and under. So
Yeah,
that's a
marriage is
challenge.
tough
That's
as it is, and then having kids, both having careers, like there's just a lot of things to balance, and it's okay because you're doing it as a team, so it's not all in one, but it's difficult. I mean, I tell my brother he's about to get married. He's getting married in September, and we love Emily. She's great. I told him, I was like, just go in. It's not always easy.
yeah.
It isn't.
And I've been fortunate enough to be around you and your brother enough, and to see your brother have several different girlfriends that he's brought along, and we're like, man, that girl was so awesome. What was wrong with it? And it's like, you know, again,
Just took
us
him
looking
time to
outside.
grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and he met Emily in law school. They were in very similar places in their lives, and she's an intellectual equal to him and really challenges him, and that's good. It's good for him.
I'm proud of you, brother. That's good
Yeah.
to know. And he's St. Mary's Law. Is that where he was
St.
at?
Mary's
And
Law, and now
he's
he and his fiance are district attorneys or deputy district attorneys in Colorado Springs in El Paso County.
that is awesome. So he could not get away from being in Colorado though, could he?
No,
No,
and
I,
one of the ADAs there is a St. Mary's grad, and they have another St. Mary's grad from their class there. So there's a couple St. Mary's law students in Colorado Springs
that's so
prosecuting
cool.
criminals.
That is so cool. And, so he's doing criminal law then,
Yeah,
or yeah,
yeah,
what district attorney? Yeah.
yeah. So he does a lot of misdemeanor stuff. Um, got some interesting stories.
I imagine that's a challenging thing too, especially, you know, because he's
Yeah, it's a
tied
lot of
into the political world too now
lo-
with that too. So
lot of
it's
domestic violence and things like
well, it's awesome, man.
that. Yeah.
Well, we're getting down to about an hour now, and
Have we?
yeah, I told you, man. You put these things on, and before you know it, the time's gone by, and you're looking down, and holy crap, we've been talking for this long. I mean, it's a fun thing. So
Yeah.
you know, Bobby Hansen,
Thanks for having me, Luke.
treatment 24/7 guru, 7 to 7 dental. Just it's been a wonderful time having you on. I missed
Appreciate
you,
you having
man.
me.
Haven't
Yeah.
seen you in a while. I know
We ran
craziness of
into each other
families.
at the rodeo like a couple months ago. I think that
Yeah,
was the last time that I saw you.
yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy how it goes by too fast.
Well, keep on fighting, buddy. It's
Yeah,
good
man.
seeing you, man.